Happy Thanksgiving from NOLA Film Scene.
With TJ and Plaideau.
I'm TJ.
And as always, I'm Plaideau.
Welcome back to NOLA Film Scene. This is a special Thanksgiving episode. We decided to drop one and talk about stuff we're thankful for this year.
We're just a couple turkeys just want to be in your ear this Thanksgiving week. How you doing, TJ?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
I'm thankful.
I'm thankful. And we have something big to be thankful for, don't we?
We do. We recorded the Thanksgiving special yesterday. And then right after we recorded, we started seeing some breaking news. And it appears that the SAG-AFTRA strike is over.
It's over! Bravo!
Yay! So now we can talk unabated about any and every project.
Our favorite movies. And if we have a guest, they can talk about things, people we've met. We can actually say the projects, even though we kind of said it. Say the projects and our favorite movies, things that inspired us. You know, we've kind of hinted around things. And I'm a Star Wars geek. I get to talk about Star Wars in the series. And
Star Wars, finally.
The last episode of Loki. Loki's been so good. I love that show. Anyway, it still has to be signed by and ratified by the committee and the uppers, and I don't know all the details. Then it goes to the members and they vote on it. So just the general, we don't know the actual terms. It sounds like they got pretty much everything they wanted, especially the protection against AI, the plagiarism machine. That's
what it sounded like to me as well. It sounded like the committee got what the member body as a whole wanted.
Yeah, totally.
So we can always come back and do another episode once we get the details of everything that was approved.
Totally.
I'm excited. It's been challenging, to say the least, to try to talk around things concerning the struck projects. Yeah. We've managed to have some good conversations with folks and find out their inspiration, but now we can get some more detail on things, movies, and things that inspired everyone to get started with this industry.
And some of the interesting stories that happen when you're working as background behind the scenes, or when you're a primary or lead, things that happen, people we've met, and the funny things, we've talked a little bit with Bill and how he and I, took the picture, but I didn't talk how I got to show him the picture of myself dressed as Death from the 90s. And then I was cast as Death's double. You know what I mean? So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the coincidence of life, the good stories. I'm so excited to I finally got to the point where I can audition for things. 4 years ago, I started this journey, really wanted to be an actor, coming from background, struggled, and then got my first line. And the pandemic happened, so I had a big pause. Study, keep working at it, getting better, hopefully getting better. And then, all right, I'm ready to audition. Strike. Son of a... It's always something want to stop you. So you persevere, you keep studying, you keep trying. And I started doing auditions, got a couple of things, commercial short films. And now it just feels like climbing that mountain, take a pause, and I'm looking at the peak because I want in on set. I want in on roles. I want to be on somebody's TV show. Even if I'm just the guy like with the pizza. Pizza's here. Okay, thanks, bye. That's the goal. And then get more, and then get deep, and then get on Star Wars and put me in makeup, and you won't recognize me. Okay, I got to calm down.
Yeah. Indeed. I've got a lot to be thankful for, Brian. I don't know about you.
I have nothing. I do. You go ahead, though.
In a nutshell, family, friends, and film. 3 things. But there's a group of things within each of those 3 things.
Cool. I can say family. I can say friends. I need more film, but I can say film, and let's call it career. Film including improv and some voice acting stuff. And yeah, not exactly the same as yours, but pretty much the same.
I was kind of lumping those 3, the improv, voice acting, and podcasting for that matter, all into the film category. Yeah, that I didn't mean only film, at least not for me.
I know. I was trying to come up with something different, and it's pretty much the same thing. But yes, thankful for this podcast and our friends who are listening. People who have come on and the opportunities that have come from this. We got to record a video for a friend's play. Someone invited me to do an audiobook. I got to do an audition for just like a voiceover commercial. And because I have the sound booth here and that's for the podcast, we found out what you need to do that. And the opportunities have just come. Every time you build a skill, every time we do this, every time we share, something good happens. So very thankful for that.
That's right. As we're filming this, I'm really thankful on the family front, I don't talk a lot about my family, a lot about personal stuff publicly, but one of my older brothers had a pretty significant heart attack last week and it is finally showing some improvement. So I'm really thankful for that.
Amen. I'm glad to hear it.
And on the, thank you.
You're
And on
welcome.
the entertainment front, this year's been a year of a lot of firsts for me. When I made the decision in 2022 to get into principal acting, I came up with a list of goals and things that I wanted to achieve. It was pretty small in the beginning, and that came from recommendations that I got from actors on how to break into it, getting professional headshots, starting to take acting classes, learning how to do self-tapes for auditions, and navigating the whole business side of things to get those accounts set up, and then start getting some auditions. And thankfully, I got a few and filmed my first film late 2022. And speaking of firsts, last night we had the cast and crew premiere of that film with our singing teacher, Olivia Peck. She was the writer, director, producer of the film, and our friend Hick was in it. We have a lot of friends that were in it. As a result of that film, I made a lot of friends just from meeting them on set, working with them.
Yeah.
And we had such a fun time at that premiere last night. It's going to be a fun film. People are going to love it. It's a mockumentary and it's hysterical.
I've seen the trailer. It looks great.
Yeah. Hick mentioned Olivia's comedic timing, and he's right. She's funny. She's very funny.
Yeah. Very cool. I'm thankful. A movie that I've been working with the director since I met him in 2019 on the Kevin Smith movie. He was in charge of the background, keeping us all together, rounding us up. And we got to talking like this. And he goes, "Hey, you want to be in my movie?" I was like, "Well, yeah." So I didn't hear from him for a year. I was like, "Oh, well, I guess that didn't happen." And he called me and said, "Hey, you want to come be a cop?" My first line in that movie and any other movie was Saturday, March 14th, 2020. And then the world broke. So there's not even a Kickstarter. It's just a labor of love. People doing it for free. I didn't get paid, didn't want to get paid. And I've been 6 different characters, 2 different speaking parts, 4 featured. I've been the stand-in for another police officer, although he was the detective. And we had to make sure I turned front because I have more of a beard than him. I round up people. I worked crafty. I brought the snacks one day. And I might be getting an associate producer credit.
Nice.
And they just dropped the trailer. That's where I was going with this. Finally, Death Trip. Just a tiny bit left, and it'll be ready to start going out to festivals. And then hopefully next year we'll be able to share it with everybody. Very thankful for that.
Yeah. It's nice to see projects that you're involved with from the beginning come to fruition and see what things take in real time, especially when things are being self-produced or being produced on a small budget. You have to work within those budgetary constraints. And sometimes that takes time. Sometimes that takes a back seat to day jobs to keep food on the table.
Yep. Well, the movie you were in with Olivia's, that's about to go to festivals. Once Death Trip is finished, that'll be going to festivals. I played Death in Wheel of Heaven. It's in the festivals now. So we always say acting is waiting. You're waiting to get the job. Once you got the job, you're waiting, when to go. When you're on set, you're waiting to get out your trailer or you're holding and get there. Now it's done. We're waiting so we can show it to the public.
That's right.
It's great, but it drives you crazy.
That's right. It's hard to also explain to people that aren't in the industry or that haven't been involved or had friends involved with a short film or an independent film that's going on the circuit. They want to know the name of the film and where they can see it. Well, it takes a little bit longer in that case because it does have to go out to the circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes around to the different film festivals, and they don't want those films shown a lot beforehand because they don't want any kind of public opinion, public bias to affect any judging that might take place. I think sometimes people don't realize why viewings of these films are limited before they go to the circuit.
Yeah. And
I have to explain to family, that's the main thing, is they want to keep it kind of on the low so the judging can be unbiased.
Right. And then some of the festival circuit, you might find your distributor there, whether you met him in person or, people look at that list and they send out feelers. Hey, would you like me to sponsor your film? Whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, you don't know, but then it'll come out to the public.
Right. That's right. Speaking of things to be thankful for, in addition to films, I feel like this podcast, I'm grateful for this because I've made a lot of new connections in the industry as a result of this platform. You mentioned getting an offer to do an audiobook and to do some VO stuff. I've been invited on a couple of other podcasts, 3 at this point. And I've just made a lot of new friends as a result. People reaching out, direct messages, hey, enjoy what you're doing, keep up the good work. And it feels good to get that encouragement from people, whether they're in the industry or not.
Right.
When they just reach out and say, hey, good job, keep it going.
Yeah.
That's something else that I'm thankful for.
Totally. I didn't even know about you going on another podcast. You cheating on me, my friend? No. Definitely want you out there.
I haven't gone on any yet. I've just had a couple of, 3 invites.
Damn right you go.
I guess once they come back and say, hey, this is availability. I mean, you know how it is. It gets busy.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad for you as an individual and as a representative of both of us, and just our friends and just there are people who maybe you haven't heard from a while on Facebook, not even in the industry. Oh man, that's so great. Feels so good to make people laugh, make them, oh, I didn't know about that. I know how to be an actor now by watching you, cool. Or inspired people. How do I do that? It's been very good. Now, another thing I can be thankful for, I did my first time as a teacher's assistant in an improv class this past weekend. And I've been taking it since 2020. We're just improv. Then we graduated improv for actors. Then we did a 4-level improv course, which you are taking also through Anubis Improv. And then the teacher, David, who's been on our podcast, reached out and said, hey, would you like to help teach level 0? Level 0 is just an introductory course. It's kind of a little bit of the basics of level 1. I was like, sure. Right now, it was me and the teacher, Nick. He mostly let me take the reins, but he'd step in and say, no, this is, guided me in the class in the right way. And so in the future, I'll be doing that and then get my feet wet with level 0 and maybe start getting up to level 1 and just it'd be very cool for that to be a side gig. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love doing improv.
Yeah. And to be able to share that knowledge, teaching isn't for everyone. And if you have a passion for it, it can be very fulfilling. I've had the opportunity to teach a couple of different things over the years. Early on, I was a CPR instructor and basic life support instructor. And that was fulfilling because I felt like I was giving people some knowledge that might help save someone's life.
Yeah.
And for years, I taught martial arts, and that was very, very fulfilling, especially because I got to work with my family, my wife and my kids, and give them a little bit of that knowledge. It's fulfilling to be able to share that. If there's even one thing that can help somebody else out with something, and you're so vocal about sharing improv with the world, I think it's important, especially if you're an actor. I've got friends that are actors that love to act but are shy. Privately, they're shy. And I'm not necessarily shy, but I have in the early days had a difficult time showing vulnerability, and improv helped with that.
Right.
I'm saying and doing stuff now in improv that I would have never done 6 months ago, singing and dancing in front of people, acting silly. Now I love it. I enjoy it. And I recommend it, even if you don't want to take the full 4-level course with Anubis, at least go check out level 0 and just get an introduction to improv, see what it's about. I found that there are tools from improv that help with acting. This last film project I did, yes, there was a script, but the director gave a little bit of latitude that if I felt there was something, a word or phrase, or maybe saying something a little bit different at a certain point would lend itself more to the character, I had the freedom to do that. So ad-libbing, the ability to do that when necessary, I feel was a helpful skill from improv, because there's no script, there's no pre-planning of anything. You step out on stage with a blank canvas and you're discovering and building a scene as it develops with your scene partners.
Right.
So there are a lot of tools that I think improv carries over to acting. So I recommend it. I recommend it for everybody to at least try that.
Totally. I haven't taken it, but Anubis does business courses. So they'll come like a business retreat for a day and they'll teach some improv and help people get in touch with that creative side, the depth of their creativity. And it helps like a group building activity as far as I know.
Yeah, I could see that being helpful. I'm thinking back to different trainings I've been through over the years and the whole team building and different games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see it.
And we know in our different classes and groups, you start coming up with your own inside jokes. And there are things that'll make you laugh that won't make people laugh. I can see that in an office place weeks down the road. You know, yeah, you remember when you stepped on that frog? Remember when you lit that guy on fire, his butt on fire? You know, that's probably a little extreme. But yeah, I can see that too.
Yeah. So tell me about traditions. Do you have any family traditions around Thanksgiving?
Since my parents passed, it's not that much. We do go to my in-laws' house and eat over there, but it's very low key. I work 7 days a week and striving, and with all this acting and improv, I'm pretty much exhausted. So we go have a nice, very low key dinner. Different family members will be there. It's not big, either a turkey or a ham. The mirliton stuffing, which you might not be familiar with if you're not from New Orleans. The shrimp and mirliton. Oh boy, that's some good eating. And then it's kicking back. Maybe watching the football, maybe watching the Saints if you're lucky when it's on that day. Starting watching Christmas specials that night.
Yeah, that's a big hard line in the sand. You know, in acting, we talk about what our hard line is for things that we will or won't do. For some people, maybe it's playing a certain character or saying, I know a lot of people that aren't comfortable saying racist things, right. and rightfully so.
Right.
Everybody's got their line in the sand. My unwavering line in the sand is Christmas shows, movies, music, anything before Thanksgiving Day. No. I mean, if a song comes on and I'm in public, that's one thing, but I'm not listening to it in my car, and I'm not watching Christmas movies. And I've got a whole list. I've got a list of Christmas movies. But I think that line in the sand comes from my dad. He was very strict about that in a playful way. No Christmas movies or music before Thanksgiving Day, and not until after Thanksgiving dinner. And when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, I worked at a movie theater. And I remember when Home Alone was in theaters, and I just have a lot of good memories from my youth of that movie. And as long as I can remember, for well over 20 years, my tradition has been Home Alone and then Christmas Vacation on Thanksgiving Day in the evening after Thanksgiving dinner.
I gotcha. Yeah.
In 2010, I was deployed to the Middle East. I could not find a copy of Home Alone anywhere. Nobody had a copy of it back then. DVDs were still the thing. And I purchased it on Apple. I guess at the time it was still iTunes. Maybe it's still iTunes. And to download it, we had air cards, and you bought minutes, and they only lasted for so long. And the speed was so slow, you could kind of Skype, but mostly it ended up being a voice call. I downloaded that movie from Apple, and it took almost 24 hours for it to download. I kicked it off in my hoot. I went to work.
Yeah.
I came back, and I went to the gym and went to dinner and went to work again and came back. And it finished downloading on Thanksgiving Day, and I was able to keep up my tradition. Even being on deployment, I was able to watch it. And where we were, there was no shortage of movies. There was a morale, welfare, and recreation facility where you could go check out DVDs or music for free, like a library, and take them back to your hooch and watch them. And I don't know if somebody just had it checked out or if they just didn't have it in the library, but I could not find it on base anywhere. So I ended up buying it and downloading it.
And then you saved Thanksgiving like a special.
Thanksgiving.
It was saved. I listen to them all year round. The Hallmark movies, I have to have a TV on while I try to go to sleep.
Same.
My wife likes those. Sometimes I do MST3K on Tubi, and it'll just keep running. But I'll just put the Hallmark movies on and let it run. Every once in a while, during the year, if I'm feeling maybe a little down, maybe a little hot in August, I'll play some Christmas music and stuff. The Christmas music would start Thanksgiving morning while we were cooking.
Okay, fair.
Yeah. Maybe the parade. There are years I've watched the parade. There are years I haven't. I don't have a hard line with that.
Yeah.
If it makes you happy and doesn't hurt nobody else, cool.
Yeah.
I'm the same way with pumpkin spice.
Yeah. Now, I joke about that being a hard line because it was a joke. It was like a running joke with my dad, and my family jokes about it. I don't judge people. If you're listening to Christmas music or watching Christmas movies before Thanksgiving, I don't judge. I don't comment on it.
Right.
It doesn't bother me. It's more of a joke than anything else with my family. But that said, I stick to it. I don't do it.
That's you. Nothing wrong with that. But like the Halloween people get mad about hearing about Christmas too early. I just saw a post, 94 days to Mardi Gras. I'm sure the local people are like, come on. And if you're not from New Orleans, you don't know. Mardi Gras starts on 12th night, King's night. So that's the 12th day of Christmas. And I didn't know until I was older, but the first day of Christmas is Christmas Day. I used to always thought that it would lead up to it. And then at the end of that, that's when the season starts. And then about a month and a half, might have a parade or two. And then the week before Mardi Gras Day, parades really start kicking off. You have 2 good weekends of it up until that Tuesday. And then Ash Wednesday, you better stop partying and give it up for Lent.
That's right. That's
now,
right.
I have a story about Thanksgiving, but I'm going to ask you one first. Mine is comically tragic, but it all works out in the end. So do you have something, could be a great story, could be something like, I can't believe I did that, or just, I don't even want to talk about that. A story from Christmas past that you think people would find interesting. Thanksgiving past, wrong holiday.
Yeah, I have one. Okay. So another tradition that my family has, we go camping every year with my nephew and his family. In the early days, we would alternate. One year we would go to a place that was an ATV park, and we would take ATVs and ride four-wheelers, mud ride and camp. And then the next year it would just be a regular campground. And a couple times we've gone to sites that are just cabins. One year we went to the mountains in Tennessee. We were going to take a cruise for Thanksgiving week and camp on a cruise ship in 2020, but the bottom fell out of the world that year and cruises were canceled, and we all had to get refunds from booking that. We started booking a year in advance and all put deposits down, and thankfully, the cruise line refunded everybody's money. We had 4 families that were going to go as one big group on this, but my tragic story, the camping trips started, my nephew was doing it before that year, and we started doing it the Thanksgiving after I got back from deployment to the Middle East. And while we were on that camping trip, I got some really terrible, terrible news, and I relive it every year. I remember it every year. One of the guys from deployment, fortunately, I was in a combat zone, but I wasn't in combat. So we didn't lose anybody on deployment. But when we got back, one of the guys, his day job, he was a sheriff's deputy somewhere in Alabama. And he responded to a domestic disturbance, and
it's okay.
He lost his life that night.
So sorry.
He was such a good kid. He wasn't in my division, in my unit, but I had the honor and privilege to get underway with him on small boats several times. A really, really good kid. And it was just devastating to hear that news, because he had a wife and he had a family, just really good kid. But boy, I took this in a sad direction. But
no, that's
every
all right.
year I remember that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We've never talked about that, and revealing your vulnerableness, no other way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's something that we should always be thankful for at Thanksgiving. Like for me, both of my parents are gone, and every holiday, their birthdays, their wedding anniversary, the day they passed away, Christmas thing, it's always a tinge of sadness to go with our joy. Yeah. So we should be thankful that we're still here and we can honor their memory. And that's, we got serious, but it's still cool. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now, my story is more asinine, like I am. So it was Thanksgiving. Had to be in the 90s. I was working graveyard shift at a convenience store, and I got off of work at 6 a.m. And right at 5 a.m., someone I knew, this girl from grammar school, hey, how you doing? And I'm in my 90s, so I was in my 20s, so she wasn't a girl anymore. We're talking. She's picking up some beer or something for Thanksgiving. She walks out. I watch her go to her car. I look and I see this guy in a ski mask coming at me. It's November, end of November in Louisiana. So I'm like, it's not that cold for, oh shit. And it was my first time. I was about to get robbed. So he comes in and I have a baseball bat behind the counter and I pick it up and man, I can feel my hands trembling. I used to sell cutlery and he's got a French chef knife. He's got Jason's knife. I'm like, get out of here. He goes, you think you can stop me with that? And I started thinking, because if you work for some of these convenience stores and you fight back, you can be fired.
Yeah.
And, which is crazy. So if I had swung and hit, I could be fired. If I swung and missed, it would expose my side. I'd be dead. So I put the bat down and we had like an island in the middle of the convenience store. So he comes in, got my back to certain machines. I opened the one I've been working on. Here's the money. He goes, open that one. Had no money in it. Show him. What's that behind you? That's a lottery machine. And it's funny to think about it, but I was like, no, okay. Give me your wallet. I worked at a convenience store. I had no money, no credit cards. And so he leaves. My heart's racing. I go out, I follow back, lock the door, call the police. We had to do a long report. So the manager comes, the overall manager there. Hey, how you doing? I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. I go home. At that point, I lived across the street from my parents at this other house. My sister and I rented a place and the power's out. And I'm like, no. I paid my bill. I may be poor. I may have missed it before. I know I paid it. A transformer had popped. So like the block was out. All right. So I go across the street, help my family cook, and tell them the story. And they're worried. We're all fine. Well, we used to barbecue the turkey. And so you put the skewer in it and you tie the legs with twine. And then as it cooked, it would kind of surround the twine. So now it comes time to carve the turkey. And I don't know about you, but when I carve, I nibble. So cut, put it on the side, cut a little piece for me. And I'm doing that. And people are talking, they're having their wine, they're having fun. And all of a sudden I go, I start choking. Brian, what's wrong? And I just stopped moving, reached in my throat, pulled out a piece of twine. I don't know if it was a foot. It felt like a foot. I said, that's it. I'm going to bed. I'm having a terrible Thanksgiving. Good night, everybody. Just a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it makes a good story. And the power came on later, by the time we finished dinner. So, and they caught the guys later that afternoon. They tried another convenience store and this older couple beat the shit out of them. But nobody told me, so I was nervous every day going into work and I ended up quitting, which was a good thing. But I working graveyard shift, you always invite the police to come over. So they'd stop, they'd get their free coffee, and I'd buy them lunch because I want them there as much as they want to be there all night. Yeah. So they're my friends. I was even at one of their bachelor parties. Yeah. None of these sons of bitches told me the guy was caught. Thanks. Oh, thanks a lot, buddies.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. So you mentioned turkey and you mentioned shrimp and melon earlier.
Yeah.
That's another tradition. My nephew's mother-in-law goes camping with us and she fixes a killer shrimp and melon casserole. And we don't get a turducken every year, but most years we do.
Nice.
And my family usually does the turkey. My nephew's family does the other stuff. So this year we've already, and you have to pre-order it. Otherwise you're not going to get one.
Right.
Some people go to specialty meat shops. Sometimes you can get it at Winn-Dixie or whatever. So my wife has already ordered our turducken this year, and it's seafood, shrimp, and melon is the stuffing in it.
Yum. You're making me hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a rare thing for Louisiana. My mother was from Maine, so I love mincemeat pies.
Yeah.
And growing up, you could still find them in the freezer section of the supermarket. You can't anymore. World Market, I can find small ones. You know what I mean? Or you can find the pie filling. My aunt.
Right.
Aunt-in-law, just my aunt now, she made it for us one year. And my wife would usually pick up a couple of those at World Market. So it's kind of like a black licorice to some people. It's a little different, My mouth's watering. I'm getting hungry. We might have to end this episode.
Final thing, this has been a special Thanksgiving episode. We have a lot to be thankful for personally and professionally. We are thankful that the SAG strike has ended. We can finally talk about our favorite movies and TV shows and some specifics as to what inspired us. We might do another episode with just me and Brian to talk a little bit more detail about what got us going. I am thankful. I'm thankful for our listeners that come back week after week. We are going to use the break coming up around Christmas time and start publishing some of the video versions of these episodes. And we're also going to be launching a Patreon. So if we have listeners that would like to help support the channel, that'll be a way to do it. We're trying to keep advertisements in the middle, interrupting the episodes down to a minimum. But the first step is going to be a Patreon. So I am thankful for all the listeners out there. I'm thankful for you, Brian. I'm thankful for this podcast.
I'm touched. Thank you. And I totally agree. Can't say enough that we're thankful for the listeners. It's been a dream. And it's been wonderful. I can't wait to the next parts of the journey of things we can share with you. And you'll get to see our pretty faces now. Oh, wait.
Well, my pretty face.
Yeah, I'm screwed.
Face.
Thank you, everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Gobble, gobble.